Okay, and that's how you know it's time for TVC Breakfast to begin in earnest. All right, we'll begin, of course, with the look at the papers this morning, and we're being joined by leadership and communication strategist Dotun Ojo, our regular on Monday mornings. Good to see you.
Good morning.
To see you,
It's good to see you. Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Very well.
Superb. Yeah. All right, we start off with the Punch. PDP flays violent search of Atiku's plane documents by security agents. Search aimed at intimidating me and my staff. And that's Atiku speaking there. Of course, he's been complaining about this violent search of his, plane and what have you. The question is, on his arrival from Dubai, that in itself was breaking news. Atiku arrives, from Dubai. So the question is really, or the question should be, is it the norm? Because the aviation minister has been trying to explain that away, Hadi Sirika, that it is a normal thing with such, VIPs when they come into the country, except of course for the president and the vice.
Yeah, you see, for the people, for the public, it may not be a norm, but it is not abnormal, because we don't get to hear it every time that there's a search here and there. But again, first is PDP, I doubt whether there's anything violent about the search, and we should not make unnecessary issue out of it. There's nothing violent about it, and I think constitutionally, if somebody comes to my house, for example, and provides a warrant, I'm not going to have anything to, you understand, to fight over. There was a warrant for that search, and the search was actually carried out. Whether we should continue to read political meaning to it is another thing entirely.
Okay. We've begun a process to extradite Dezani, former petroleum minister there. Of course, that's the EFCC.
Do you want to know my response to that? Nyimu.
Okay, let's leave it then. Since
why do you think so?
No, in honest, that's my opinion. Because now what they have done is to, we have too many, it's a government language. We want to do this, we have started this. There were a number of investigations that EFCC has started. Many of them not bring to about 15 years, 10 years, or how many years now, and we are not seeing the conclusion. So if you are coming out to say, to broadcast the fact that you have started a process, then people like us will not take you seriously.
Well, there's another process that has started. Refineries, NNPC financiers negotiate abroad. Are we expecting to see foreigners buy into our refineries? Is that what will solve the problem?
Even the nation has given up on...
basically
even the nation, idea. Nigeria, I think the nation has given up on our refineries. And that is why they are supporting a private investor now too. And we are praying and hoping that once a private investor starts his own refinery, that our woes will be over. It's really sad.
Okay, Lagos-Ibadan Road will be completed in 2021, according to Julius Berger. Burattai's vehicle in auto crash. ADC hospitalized. Alleged breach of contract. Imo APC governorship candidate Hope Uzodinma arrested. Okay, salary increase won't solve civil servants' problems, according to the SDP presidential candidate Mr. Donald Duke.
I think everybody is aware of that fact, because if you do your analysis as we speak, 30,000, that's less than 600 naira a day. Can somebody living in Ikorodu and who works from VI or anywhere, can he survive on that?
Well, because he's saying fix the fundamentals,
of
infrastructure,
course. Even the 30,000 naira we are talking about, for example, if there's no point comparing, I just want to bring that on board. If you compare it to 18,000 naira of 2014, in terms of value, you know that it's even less than the 18,000 naira.
They don't have the 30,000 yet anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly. As far as now is concerned, they don't have the 30,000 yet. But I was speaking with one of the presidential candidates for the YPP, Kingsley Moghalu. And he was saying that, well, Nigeria, if you look at all the indices, the GDP, how much we have reserve and all of that, Nigeria can comfortably pay between 30,000 and 45,000. As it is, comfortably, right now. And he was saying that he would not also advise that the money is pegged above that, because the economy would not have what it takes to pay that drastically. He certainly has to move gradually before, even if we have the ability to, we have enough resources to pay 500,000 naira as minimum wage, we shouldn't just shoot to that level.
More so that we have a legal framework that says every 5 years you can actually increase. So we must always create
you can actually review, not increase. Because that review can actually go down
or
upwards or even be maintained.
We haven't seen a case like that.
Yeah, but you just started.
We haven't seen a case of reviewing backward.
Yeah, but the concept of reviewing as a whole just started, so it's fine. Let's just give it a time.
You know, some people say that in Nigeria, Nigeria just defies all the laws of economics. Whatever goes up doesn't come down.
Never comes down.
Okay, police reveal how Togolese coup killed Credit Suisse chairman, and federal government concludes work on 2019 budget. Okay.
The Nation newspaper is our next one now. Obaseki backs Oshomole against Amosun Okorocha. Party chair, I didn't meet Tinubu in the UK. Well, Governor Obaseki is reported to say that what Oshomole is doing is to institute a regime of change where nobody is above the law. So that is their interpretation from the reports carried out here.
Yes. If you look at Oshomole cannot be totally right. And at the same time, it cannot be totally wrong. Right. In fact, I think we have some level of rascality among some of our politicians that need to be checked. And a person like Oshomole, we actually, for example, let's cite an example of a man who is a governor. There's nothing wrong if you are a governor and you want your son to succeed you. If I have a father-in-law that wants me to succeed him, I will be glad. There's nothing wrong. But in a situation where you put all your family members in government, it is annoying. It may be legal, but is it logical? So we need to build a system. You see, in the letters of the alphabet, we have an R and an S, R-S-T-U-V. Why you have an R before an S is because any system you run will bring you the result. The result you have is a product of the system you run. And you cannot continue to run a familiar system and expect a fantastic result. So we must get to a point where somebody is actually going to say no to the level of rascality. But in saying no, you must also know that these people has the right and you respect their right. So I do not expect an Oshomole to come and say, we are playing logic. No,
so
I want to add logic.
Exactly, balancing act where there has to be some form of... How Ondo chief was killed by a suspect. That's a sad situation there. PDP minister disagree over search of Atiku's plane. We've talked about that. ASU, federal government team, okay, student loan. Well, they've been talking about the education bank in order to handle some of the backlog of deficit in infrastructure and all of that development in the education sector.
If we want to develop education, I think the first step the government needs to take is actually to show seriousness by honoring whatever the agreement they have with ASU and monitor the entire process to develop a university. If you get to, some of us graduated from some of these institutions and you go back and you are holding your head. Because like, number one, maybe when you graduated, the number of students were just somewhere around 6,000 and 10,000. And you get there now, the school is accommodating about 20,000 students. Yet the facilities are not there.
But don't you think that in itself speaks to the whole idea of looking back at the institution that actually gave you the opportunity to, you know, contribute to society? A lot of people don't even look back. I mean, I wonder how many of us have gone back to our, you know, former, you know, our alma mater and put something back or give something back.
It is your present.
That too. I mean,
but there's a lot going
we really
on.
give it to government alone?
We cannot leave it to government alone. But again, it is your current reality that will determine whether you have the capacity to look back or not. I'm still struggling to feed my family. And that is my first priority. So if the government, for example, creates an enabling environment, not necessarily for people working in government, but people working outside of government, and to a certain extent, there's a foundation for me that I am living at least to a certain degree, a life that is good, then I'll be able to look comfortable.
Okay.
Be able to look back.
All right. Talks on for Access Bank to acquire Diamond Bank. Now, this... Anytime a headline like this comes, there's some kind of panic in the minds of people, even though the government and authorities will say, well, there's nothing to worry about, no cause for alarm. That. But to the average Nigerian, it feels like there's some distress somewhere.
Yes.
And in the banks.
The fact is that our banks are not, many of our banks are not healthy. Either we want to hide it or not. And they are playing out in our very eyes. If I said it here before, if you take out some of the illicit and illegal funds from banks, banks will collapse. That is why we cannot run a good process, a good banking system. A friend of mine got to the US to study, and within 1 month he has his account open. Within some few days he has his account open. Nobody is charging him for the credit card and for the cards and everything. Yet we go through the illegal means to charge people for the card they will use in the bank. You get here to use the ATM, they charge you. They send you birthday greetings.
For withdrawal?
On your birthday, they send you greeting.
Exactly.
They deduct your money. Put all
I
of
didn't
these
know
things
that.
together,
Okay,
you
my
see,
bad.
discover
Please
that
don't
our
send me
banks
any
are not
greetings
healthy.
anymore. But you know what I mean?
Don't say that. You're going to enjoy those. All right, let's just run
let's
through the Lagos-Ibadan
Yeah.
Expressway to be completed in 2021, says Julius Berger. And the Ondo workers serve strike notice to the government. Uzodinma arrested. Well, those are some of the headlines on the Nation newspaper now.
All right, moving on to the Daily Trust very quickly. Drugs Products Regulatory Agencies get 49 billion naira in 3 years. Okay, well, is it good enough to actually fix whatever the challenges are in that sector is another issue. Well, the NDLEA is actually, and the Sun, been, revealing these numbers. Okay, Atiku FG disagree over search on private jet. Reorient budget towards rural development. Economists tell FG, yes, the rural areas have been left behind in the scheme of things.
You know, the mistake we made as a people is to have over-empowered our government, our governors. Our governors have taken over the local government. As we speak now, the reality is that we do not have local council. The governors determine what gets to the local government. They hijack the resources of the local government as it's coming from the federal purse. So until we empower the local government, maybe they run their constitutionally, maybe they run their election every 4 years, and you empower them to develop from the rural areas. The reality is that we may be celebrating in Lagos, but the suburb of Lagos, you can get there and see what the people are facing. That is in Lagos that is developing, and we have some states that are practically dead.
Well, part of the 2014 confab, of course, is the local government autonomy. Whether that is...
So that is even going on right now.
I will quickly add this, that we should
really,
not think that we should not think that the federal government has the capacity to develop the local communities. They do not.
Of course not. Yeah.
Okay, to the bottom column now, Oshomole, I did not meet Tinubu in London. According to him, look, if I needed to meet the leader
I didn't need to travel abroad
of the APC. I didn't need to do that through the Queen of England. I mean, I have access to him in Bodilon. I could go to the
there's nothing you will not hear from politicians. They will just mix out some issues sometimes. Like,
no, but you know, Shamole
they
has
know
a
themselves
way
very well too.
Yeah, they do know themselves very well, don't they? EFCC confirms moves to extradite Alison Madueke. Jail term not sufficient to deter corrupt persons. That's President Muhammadu Buhari speaking there. Okay.
Well, the president has been vehement against corruption, and for that, his personality stands out there when it comes to personally,
former President Goodluck Jonathan
issues
actually said, look,
corruption.
it's better to actually plug those loopholes that, allow for corruption to thrive. That's where we should begin to fix corruption from.
This complex system of government we are running will not give us the capacity to be able to block some of these loopholes. We cannot.
But the TSA was meant to do that.
The TSA was...
Originally, that was the idea of TSA.
But now we still have agencies of government that are not paying to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Until you identify some of these agencies, you will not be able to plug them. Unfortunately, there was this panel during the tenure of former President Goodluck Jonathan that was actually supposed to harmonize some of these government agencies. And do you know we have maybe over 500 government agencies? How many of them do you get to know? Even as a president of Nigeria, I can say, sitting here, that the president of Nigeria, as we speak now, may not know many of these agencies.
True.
All right, let's move to the next paper now. The Point newspaper is the next one. Post-primary crisis, Edo APC spits fire, says will resist any move to rubbish Oshomole. Well, he has many skeletons in his cupboard. My former aide is saying that, and Oshomole only doing his job as an undertaker. He's a spokesperson.
Undertaker to bury the party.
As a spokesperson of the PDP saying that APC on a Makaba dance, Shetima is saying that, well, it's political season now, so we're going to see a lot of all of those. Agri-credit scheme, CBN injects 560.9 billion naira intervention funds in 9 years. A lot of monies called sometimes,
Yes.
and then you go to the grassroots. You want to ask
the people who should be affected, and
the farmers and all the people who should have accessed all this credit. What is the impact of all of that money on what they are doing?
The first failure is lack of enlightenment. Many of those people that should have access to this fund are not even aware that they should have access to it. And
or maybe there could be a deliberate attempt to make them not to become aware.
I told you a story of how I went to Bank of Agriculture. Now, at a point, it became a political money. If you do not belong to the at least I remember during PDP very well. If you are not a card-carrying member of PDP, you will not be able to have access. And even to this government now, you can see some of their interventions here and there. Though I think this government is a little bit fair, but we have not removed political thing from our empowerment system. Before they empower you now, they are looking at you. Do you have a voter card, for example? Are you a registered member? Are you a registered member?
Yeah, if they're asking for voter cards, I don't think
if they're asking for all those, but I don't know if they ask those questions in their trader money and market money and Empower and all of that. But if they ask those questions, is it wrong?
To ask for your voter card.
To ask for any, not to bring it, but to ask
this government, let me tell you.
Unless they're asking if you're a member of the party.
I can't remember the specific intervention
right.
that they were asking for the number of...
Let's just do a rundown so we can move on. 14 participating banks repay 11 billion naira for 51 projects. 11 years after Supreme Court judgment, NPA yet to pay 14 staff retrenched in 1991. And we have this story. My husband's family killed my son for money ritual, woman alleges. And ASU federal government 40-year battle has cost students so much. Stakeholders are saying that. And the political gladiators and the big battle for 2019 Adamawa governorship. You can get that detail on...
Okay, finally to the new Telegraph. Defection, 84 senators, reps change parties in 3 years. Ex-PDP National Chair Gemade moved from APC to PDP and then to the SDP. National Assembly leaders
chairman of the PDP.
Of the PDP, actually. And National Assembly leaders, 26 senators, 56 reps involved. Okay.
You know, we are still going to see a little more before December. We are still going to see a little more movement. More so that many of them are not favored with the current change in the change party.
I think the biggest concern really is how this affects legislation, lawmaking, which is the core of our democracy. If we don't get it right there, where you have almost neophytes every election cycle, then it becomes a real problem.
It may actually become a real problem, but the issue is this. Even when you have experienced senators or lawmakers, how much impact do they get to give the system? So the problem is, once we do not solve this problem at the individual level, and this is what I mean, you must ask an average person that is seeking office, are you going there for yourself, your party,
on the other hand, if you look at it deeply, actually, the more experience some legislators have, the more stability. You see between 1999 and 2003, there were a lot of issues where, in fact, they had to change Senate President, from state to state, and it got to the level where I remember when David Mark was Senate President, there was some level of stability in the House. The mode of running the House, that's something different. But when it comes to stability, and he's the longest serving senator in the House right now.
Praise the Lord.
I hope you don't expect us to say hallelujah. Okay. I killed businessman for struggling with me. Togolese cook who killed his boss after 3 days of being employed. Very sad development. And actually, if you had seen the video, the one that went viral, where he was narrating how some other people killed his boss, you almost believed him.
Yes.
That's why the police are not.
Yeah, the police are doing a good job, really. We need to give
I
it
think
to
that
them.
is also why
we have to round off.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to leave it. APC state chairman split over plots to remove Oshomole. Okay, we already have all the other stories there, and yeah, that's it.
All right.
And of course, our president is in Paris.
Yes,
for the commemoration of the World War I.
Dr. John, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, coming up, road deaths and injuries are sudden, violent, traumatic events. The impact is long-lasting, often. Okay.
We'll talk about that shortly.
When we come back. Already played.